Have you ever been with a woman and felt that something more was happening, but you couldn't quite figure out what it was? That sensation that there's a hidden message in her gestures, her gaze, the way she moves around you. Today, I'm going to reveal the silent signals every woman sends when she desires you. Signals that most men will never learn to interpret. We're not talking about words here, but a much more powerful language, the unspoken language of desire. Real communication happens in the spaces where words don't reach. Strauss describes it perfectly. Attraction isn't a choice. It's a biological response that manifests in body language before it ever reaches words. Pay attention, because what you're about to discover will forever change the way you interact with women who interest you. The first signal you need to learn to recognize is the sustained gaze, that moment when time seems to stop between you. Eye contact is the primary radar of female desire, and very few men know how to interpret it correctly. When a woman is interested in you, her pupils involuntarily dilate. It's a biological reaction impossible to fake. Watch her eyes when she's talking to you. Does she maintain eye contact longer than normal? Do you notice how her pupils slightly expand when she looks at you? That's the first biological indicator that attraction exists. Strauss mentions that the eyes reveal what the mouth tries to hide. It's no coincidence that women use makeup in this area, highlighting one of their most powerful seduction weapons. But there's something even more subtle in the gaze, the triangular pattern. When a woman is romantically interested, her eyes trace an invisible triangle, from your eyes to your mouth and back to your eyes. It's an almost imperceptible movement, but once you learn to identify it, it becomes as obvious as a neon sign. Has it happened to you that you feel someone's gaze even before turning around? That sensation isn't a coincidence. Women interested in you use what psychologists call stolen glances. Those moments when she observes you when she thinks you aren't looking. If you turn quickly and notice she looks away, it's not shyness. It's a clear signal of interest. To train your ability to detect these visual signals, try this exercise. The next time you talk with a woman, observe how many times she makes eye contact with you in a 5-minute period. If it's more than 10 direct glances, there's a pattern of interest you shouldn't ignore. Remember, we're not talking about intimidating with your gaze, but recognizing when she's trying to establish that invisible bridge of interest. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because the gaze is just the first level. Proxemics, or the use of personal space, is perhaps one of the most revealing signals, but least understood by men. When a woman feels attracted to you, she unconsciously reduces the physical distance between you. It's as if there were an invisible magnet pulling her into your orbit. Strauss explains this phenomenon clearly. People maintain a bubble of personal space, approximately 18 inches wide, for acquaintances and colleagues. When they allow someone to come within 6 inches, they're communicating intimacy or attraction. Observe how she positions herself when you're in a group. Does she tend to place herself near you without apparent reason? Do her arms or legs orient in your direction even though she's talking to other people? This spatial language is as old as our species. Regardless of culture or context, physical proximity is a universal indicator of interest. Think about the last time you were in a crowded place with a woman who interested you. Did you notice how, despite the noise and the crowd, she found ways to get closer, perhaps leaning in to speak in your ear, or accidentally brushing against your arm? The casual touch is the natural evolution of this reduction in space. When a woman touches your arm while laughing at a joke, adjusts your collar, or removes an imaginary piece of lint from your shoulder, she's breaking the physical contact barrier. These seemingly innocent touches are tests she conducts to evaluate your reaction and to gradually get used to the sensation of touching you. Have you noticed how some women seem to find any excuse to establish physical contact with you? It's not a coincidence. It's an unconscious approach strategy. To identify if these touches are signals of interest and not simple kindness, observe if the contact is recurrent and if it happens without real necessity. A necessary touch is passing you an object. A touch with intention is when her fingers remain in contact with yours longer than necessary when doing so. I propose an exercise to increase your awareness of this spatial language. In your next social interaction, Maintain a neutral distance at the beginning and observe if she's the one who shortens that distance progressively. Don't force proximity. Let her navigate into your space. If she does, you've received a powerful signal that many men overlook. If you're enjoying this analysis and want to dive deeper into more techniques for understanding female nonverbal language, make sure to subscribe right now and activate the bell to receive notifications. We're just scratching the surface of this secret code, and that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because once you recognize the gaze and space, you need to pay attention to body synchronization, that subtle dance that occurs when two people feel mutual attraction. Synchronization is a fascinating phenomenon where she unconsciously begins to mirror your movements, postures, and rhythms. Strauss describes it as an invisible dance where bodies communicate on a level that the conscious mind rarely perceives. Observe these patterns. If you lean forward during a conversation, does she do the same seconds later? If you change your posture, do you notice that she adjusts hers similarly? Do you take a sip of your drink and she, without noticing, does the same? This synchronization isn't coincidence or conscious imitation. It's what psychologists call physical rapport, a state of neurological connection that establishes when attraction exists. Our brains are programmed to synchronize with those people with whom we want to connect more deeply. It's as if our bodies knew, before our minds, who we want to bond with. Think about the last time you had a really fluid conversation with someone. Did you notice how you seemed to move at the same rhythm, almost as if following invisible music? That synchronization is a powerful signal of connection and potential attraction. When a woman synchronizes her body language with yours, she's communicating a clear message: we're on the same wavelength. Another fascinating aspect of synchronization is speech velocity and breathing patterns. Have you noticed how, when two people feel attraction, they begin to speak at a similar pace, pause at the same moments, and even breathe in coordination? These are subtle but extremely revealing indicators of romantic interest. To experience this phenomenon yourself, try this exercise. In your next conversation with a woman who interests you, deliberately change your posture 3 times over a few minutes. Don't do it obviously or abruptly, but naturally. Then observe if she adapts her posture to mirror yours. If she does in at least 2 of the 3 instances, you're receiving a clear signal of synchronization, a strong indicator that attraction exists. Remember, synchronization is a language that doesn't lie. Our bodies know what we want before our conscious mind can rationalize it. Pay attention to this invisible dance, and you'll discover a new level of understanding in your interactions. Have you ever wondered why some conversations flow effortlessly while others seem like an uphill battle? Synchronization is the answer you've been looking for. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point. Because once you understand the gaze, space, and synchronization, you need to decipher the language of personal grooming. Those small modifications she makes to her appearance when she perceives you. It's a code as old as humanity itself, but one that most men never learn to read correctly. Strauss explains it perfectly. Personal grooming in the presence of someone who attracts them is one of the most universal and consistent signals of female interest. Observe these subtle behaviors. When you're nearby, do you notice how she adjusts her hair, slightly moistens her lips, or repositions her clothing? These aren't random gestures. They're instinctive preparations to present herself more attractively to you. Preening, as it's known in ethology, is an innate grooming behavior that occurs in the presence of a potential mate. When a woman plays with her hair near you, she's activating a genetic code designed to capture your attention. Hair especially is a powerful seduction tool. When she touches it, twirls a strand around her finger, or places it behind her ear, she's directing your gaze toward her face and neck, erogenous zones that she unconsciously wants you to notice. Have you observed how some women seem to glow more in your presence? The explanation is simple. When we're in front of someone who attracts us, our body releases hormones that increase blood circulation, creating a natural blush and a sparkle in the eyes that's impossible to artificially replicate. If you notice her cheeks acquire a subtle pink tone while talking with you, you're witnessing a biological reaction of attraction. Posture also reveals a lot. When a woman is interested, she adopts positions that enhance her physical attributes, straightening her back to highlight her chest, crossing her legs in a way that stylizes them, or slightly tilting her head, exposing her neck, an erogenous zone she instinctively wants to show to someone who attracts her. These adjustments are so subtle that she herself may not be conscious of making them. I propose an observation exercise. The next time you're conversing with a woman, pay attention to how many times she adjusts her hair in a period of 10 minutes. If she does it more than 3 times, and these gestures coincide with moments when the conversation becomes more personal, or when you establish prolonged eye contact, you're witnessing clear signals of interest. Remember this fundamental truth: our bodies rarely lie. While our conscious mind can build barriers and pretexts, our instinctive gestures reveal what we truly feel. Learning to read these signals gives you an advantage that very few men possess: the ability to perceive genuine interest before it's verbalized. If you're finding value in these revelations about female body language, share this video with that friend who always wonders, is she interested in me? You'll be giving him tools that can transform his understanding of romantic interactions. And that's what we'll talk about in the next point, because beyond the gaze, space, synchronization, and personal grooming, there exists a 5th level of nonverbal communication that very few recognize: vocal change and paralinguistic communication. A woman's voice transforms subtly when she speaks with a man who attracts her, and learning to detect these changes will give you a deep understanding of her true intentions. Neil Strauss points out that tone of voice is one of the most honest indicators of attraction that exists, because it's controlled by primitive parts of the brain that we cannot consciously manipulate. When a woman is interested in you, her voice experiences specific transformations. It becomes slightly higher pitched, adopts a more melodious rhythm, and presents more marked tonal variations than when she speaks in neutral contexts. This phenomenon has deep evolutionary roots. A higher-pitched and more melodious voice signals femininity and receptivity from a biological point of view. Have you noticed how some women seem to have 2 different voices? One professional, direct, and level for formal situations, and another more dynamic, with tonal ups and downs when they interact with someone who attracts them. This second voice, more playful and expressive, is a clear signal of romantic interest. Another fascinating aspect is speech cadence. When attraction exists, the pauses between phrases slightly lengthen, creating spaces of emotional tension. She may also lower the volume of her voice, unconsciously forcing you to get closer to hear her, creating intimacy through shared space. Have you noticed how some conversations seem to have an almost hypnotic rhythm, where time seems to dilate? That alteration in time perception is a powerful indicator of emotional connection. Laughter also transforms when attraction exists. An interested woman will laugh more frequently and with greater intensity at your comments, even those that objectively aren't that funny. This behavior, known as amplified appreciation, is a form of emotional validation and signaling of interest. If she laughs while gently placing her hand on your arm or leaning toward you during laughter, you're receiving multiple combined signals of attraction. Here, I propose an exercise in auditory sharpening. In your next interaction with a woman, pay special attention to how her voice changes when the conversation becomes more personal. Does it become softer, more melodious? Does she incorporate more laughter or make longer pauses after your comments? Compare this vocal pattern with the one she uses when talking to other people in the same context. The differences you detect will be powerful revelations about her level of interest. Repeat this phrase to internalize this knowledge. The voice reveals what words try to hide. This truth will allow you to perceive levels of communication that remain invisible to most men. When you learn to listen not only to what she says but how she says it, you enter a new universe of interpersonal understanding. Have you realized how many signals you've been missing by not knowing where to focus your attention? The good news is that now you have the tools to decode this secret language that has always been right in front of you. When a woman combines these 5 signals in your presence, the sustained gaze with dilated pupils, the reduction of personal space with casual touches, the synchronization of her body language with yours, the constant grooming of her appearance, and the change in vocal patterns, you're receiving clear and definitive communication. It's not coincidence, It's not kindness. It's genuine attraction expressed in the oldest language that exists, body language. Neil Strauss summarizes it perfectly. Attraction is not negotiated or rationalized. It manifests through signals that our primitive brain has been programmed to recognize for millennia. The difference between men who succeed in the romantic field and those who constantly wonder what went wrong lies precisely in the ability to read and correctly interpret these signals. Imagine for a moment how your interactions would change if you could clearly identify when genuine interest exists. How many opportunities have you let pass by not knowing how to interpret these signals? How many times have you misinterpreted signals of courtesy as romantic interest, or worse yet, ignored clear signals of attraction thinking that she's just being nice? From today on, you have a new mission: to become a conscious observer of nonverbal language. It's not about obsessing over every small gesture, but about developing an expanded awareness that allows you to perceive significant patterns. As Neil Strauss says, true mastery doesn't consist of memorizing techniques, but in developing an intuitive understanding of human communication at all levels. The power of this knowledge comes with responsibility. It's not about manipulating or forcing connections where they don't exist, but recognizing and honoring authentic signals of interest when they present themselves. You'll use this information to create more honest interactions, where both parties can express their interest in a clear and respectful manner. For the next 7 days, I invite you to practice this new level of awareness. Carefully observe these 5 categories of signals in your daily interactions. Keep a mental record of the patterns you detect. You'll see how, with practice, what once seemed invisible becomes evident, and situations that previously generated confusion now present themselves with crystal clarity. The ability to read nonverbal language will not only transform your romantic interactions, but all your personal relationships. You'll become more empathetic, more connected, and more aware of the invisible dynamics that govern human interactions. As Neil Strauss says, when you understand body language, it's as if you've been given subtitles for a movie you've been watching all your life without fully understanding. And now comes the moment of truth. Are you ready to implement this knowledge in your life? Are you willing to elevate your level of awareness and transform the way you interact with women who interest you? If the answer is yes, I invite you to leave a comment below with this declaration: I choose to see the invisible, understand the unspoken, and honor genuine signals of interest. With this simple affirmation, you're establishing a commitment to yourself to actively implement this knowledge. Remember that true power isn't in accumulating techniques, but in developing a deep understanding of human communication in all its dimensions. From today on, you'll no longer walk blind to the signals that have always been there. You've received the tools to decipher a code that most men will never learn to interpret. If this analysis has opened your eyes to a new dimension of understanding, make sure to subscribe right now, activate the notification bell, and share this video with those who you think could benefit from this information. Together, we're creating a community of more conscious, more connected men capable of creating authentic and satisfying relationships. The next time you find yourself in front of a woman and feel that intangible connection, you'll know exactly what to look for. You'll no longer be a victim of confusion or uncertainty. You'll have developed a skill that will distinguish you from 99% of men, the ability to read the silent signals of desire. And that, my friend, is the difference between eternally wondering what might have happened and creating real opportunities for deep and meaningful connections.